An entitled Karen desperately tries to get me in trouble by making the false claim that I was trying to shoplift from the store. And even though I proved this lady wrong multiple times, she simply refused to take no for an answer, deciding instead to follow me around the store and try to prove to everybody that I was some kind of thief. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I had a light bulb that blew out in my home, and the inside of the light bulb looked black and smoky. So I unscrewed it and I brought it with me to the hardware store. And I did that because that's generally the best way to get the correct replacement for the light. In the area where the shopping cart's undercover before you actually enter the store, I pulled it out of my purse and I set my purse in the cart. And then with the light bulb in my right hand, while pushing the cart by leaning on it with my forearms, I started slowly making my way through the store, figuring that I would see what fall decorations they had out, and if there was any random home decor or cleaning supplies, or some end-of-year barbecue sales items that I couldn't live without. After a while, I noticed a guy following me and trying to act all casual, and I really don't know why, but I'm pretty sure he was loss prevention. So, being the upfront person that I am, I flat out ask him, "Are you loss prevention?" And when I said that, he stammers and then admits it and says that someone saw me shoplifting and putting something in my purse. Now, I am bemused more than anything else, so I point to my open bag and I told him, "You can check, I don't care." And he sheepishly peeks inside and then says something like, "Okay, you're good, sorry about that." And at this point, I can't help but ask myself. So I say to him, "What exactly did I steal?" He then says, "That lady down there." And he nodded towards the end of the aisle where an entitled Karen was parked staring at us. And that's when he explains that she said that she saw me open up a box and put a light bulb in my purse. Now, I couldn't really think of anything to say, so I just held out my burned out bulb and I said, "I haven't even gotten over to look at the bulbs yet. I was shopping around here first. I brought this to make sure I got the right one." The loss prevention guy then rolls his eyes and said something like, "Oh, I get it. Do you need me to get anyone to help you find the product that you're looking for?" But I just responded by saying no, and I continued shopping from there. Well, this entitled Karen seemed to be very irritated that I wasn't arrested, or at least forced to dump out my bag, so she actually followed me around the store. Now, with the loss prevention guy, he was at least trying to be subtle, but this entitled Karen was not. She kept about 2 shopping cart lengths back and just stared at me, and I honestly just did the best that I could to ignore her. I would pick things up, read the packaging, and then put it back, and then she would pick it up after I moved on and inspect it, as if she would discover an empty box or something like that. Now, I was irritated, but I tracked down the bulb that I needed. I made a point of holding out my smoky and obviously burnt out light bulb right next to the fresh clean bulbs until I found what I wanted. But then I put that one back and I chose out the same light bulb but a different brand for slightly cheaper. I then went to check out, and while I waited in line, I saw her at customer service pointing at me urgently. So eventually someone came over and asked how my shopping went. So I just held up my open bag and I made a point of showing that it was completely empty since I had to pull my wallet out to pay. I stood like that, not saying anything, until the employee apologized and left. And you know what the worst part about this is? At the end of the day, I didn't even see this entitled Karen actually shopping in the first place, because clearly she thought I was a thief despite the fact that I definitely wasn't. Wow, talk about a busybody. This lady literally followed you around the store, all under this weird assumption that you were trying to, like, I don't know, rob the place or something like that. And I really find people who act this way to be so obnoxious and so unbearable to be around. Instead of just minding her own business, she's like literally going out of her way to try and get other people in trouble for stuff they didn't even do. But you know what? I love the way the original poster handled this, because they showed how stupid this lady truly was. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not disclosing the fact that I'm adopted to my fiance's family? Because right now they feel very betrayed, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 27-year-old male and I was adopted as an infant, and this is a fact that I always knew. My parents never hid this from me or made it something shameful, but I also never like to talk about it with others. It normally opens up a lot of questions about my biological parents, or my real parents as someone would call them, or some people start talking about my parents like they're not really my parents. I had it happen when I was a lot younger and started school and told people my special story. So after we moved when I was 8 years old, I stopped talking about it and acted towards others like my parents are my biological parents. Now, I told my fiance when we first started dating, but apart from her and some very close friends, I never talk about it with anybody. To me, it's not something that anyone else needs to know about, and this includes my fiance's family. Well, as luck would have it, my adopted status was revealed to my fiance's family during a recent visit of theirs. I then got a knock on the door from a private investigator who informed me that my biological parents were interested in contact with me and they overheard the conversation. They then had a lot of questions, but primarily they were angry at me for two reasons. For starters, and most importantly for this post, because I just didn't tell them. They didn't like being kept in the dark and didn't like my fiance's response that it wasn't any of their business. Secondly, they were also mad because I expressed to the PI that I was not interested in any contact with them and asked him to pass this on to my biological parents. My fiance's family had the very reaction I try to avoid from people, and they asked how I could turn down the chance to know my real family. But the primary criticism is that I did not tell them, and that I let them find out in the way that they did. They said they could have had grandkids affected by this, and I just wouldn't tell them. My fiance reminded them that it was none of their business, and she had them leave early when they refused to let the topic go. But her parents are still pissed off at me, and it's making me question if I'm seriously the one at fault. What should I do? Okay, this is seriously insane because your fiance's family is so intrusive. First of all, that PI should not have knocked on your door to give you that information. Like, an email really would have been enough for this, so the timing for everything is just awful and just completely unfair. But also, your fiance's family is completely out of line. There is no reason in the world they should ever know this information. This is quite literally none of their business, and for them to selfishly assume that this somehow affects them is just insane. And by the way, this would not affect any future grandkids. Like, this is not even a problem to begin with. Like, what is wrong with these people? So no, you are definitely not the jerk, because the way your extended family was acting is completely out of line. Am I the jerk for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after she disrespected my late wife and also demanded a family heirloom that was given to my late wife? Because right now I really do feel disrespected, and at this point I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 32-year-old female, and I lost my wife 2 years ago in a drunk driving accident. Losing her shattered my world, and I've been trying to pick up the pieces ever since. My family, though, has never really understood what I've been going through, and to be completely honest, they never fully accepted my marriage in the first place. And for the sake of the story, we'll call my late wife Lauren. When we got married, my grandma gave me a necklace that's been passed down in our family for generations. It's a tradition that the women in the family get it when they get married, and it meant the world to me because it felt like one of the few times that my marriage to Lauren was actually recognized as real. Since Lauren passed, my sister Emma, who's always been the golden child, has been eyeing the necklace. She's getting married soon, and she recently mentioned that now that I'm not really married anymore, I should pass it on to her. Now that was hard to hear, but what really broke me happened last week at a family dinner. We were talking about her wedding, and she made a joke about setting me up with one of her fiance's friends. I felt uncomfortable, but I tried to brush it off. She then says to me, "Well, at least Lauren won't be there to haunt you if you hook up with someone." And I seriously couldn't believe that she said that. I didn't even know how to react. I just sat there. Later, when I told her how hurtful it was, she rolled her eyes at me and told me that I was being too sensitive and that I needed to stop being so depressing and lighten up. Then she brought up one of her bridesmaids who had a crush on me even when Lauren was alive and suggested that I have some fun with her at the wedding, if you know what I mean, as if my wife hadn't mattered at all. I told her there was no way I could come to the wedding if that's how she feels about Lauren and my grief. Things escalated from there, and she then accused me of being dramatic and said I was ruining her big day over one little joke. Well, my parents took her side, saying that I should just let it go and show up to support my sister. They even mentioned again how I should give Emma the family necklace, saying that since I'm not using it anymore, it should go to her now. Ever since then, I've been bombarded with calls from literally everybody. They've all told me that I'm being selfish and that I need to move on and stop holding on to the past. My sister's fiance even said that I should be grateful my family didn't disown me when I came out, as if I owe them something for barely tolerating me. Now I'm questioning everything. Am I being unreasonable for not wanting to go to her wedding after all this? Part of me wonders if I should just suck it up and go, but another part of me can't believe how little my family seems to care about Lauren or me for that matter. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, you're not the jerk at all. Your family is so disrespectful to your wife's memory, it's not even funny. Are they really trying to say, oh yeah, you just need to let it go. You need to move on and stop holding on to the past. By the way, give me that family heirloom back. You're not gonna need it. Like, what is happening right now? This doesn't sound like family. This sounds like a bunch of bullies trying to push you around. They not only basically spit on the memory of your wife, but they also try to make it sound like you're the one with a problem, when in reality, your sister has just been so disrespectful. So in my opinion, I don't blame you for not wanting to go to the wedding or even wanting to give back that family heirloom, because if this is how you're going to be treated, then I don't blame you in the slightest for not wanting to be involved. Am I the jerk for not doing a favor for my dad simply because of the way he's treating me and my siblings? Here's what happened. Okay, so after our mom passed away, my dad told me and my 3 other siblings that he was glad that part of his life was over, and he was going to find someone he actually loved and wanted to be with, and we better be ready because he wasn't slowing down for us. And this was 10 years ago. He met a few women before his wife of 9 years. They were together a few months before they got married, and she was pregnant right away. My dad said he knew that she was the one, and he was finally in love, and also that mom was his biggest regret in life. Well, this would make my sister cry, which would annoy my dad, and he would say that we should want him to be happy when he sacrificed his own happiness for us. Now, here's the thing. He's a better dad to the kids he has with his wife. He's there on their birthdays, remembers to buy them gifts, takes them out for ice cream, or for some kind of special time with him. He comes home early to spend time with them before they go to bed and helps them with their homework. And he never did that with us, even after he started changing. My siblings really wanted him for the longest time, but I always knew he was an awful parent and that he wasn't going to change towards us. We also always fought, and he told me the three of us were born selfish, that we wanted him to be unhappy for our sakes. I told him he basically dumped his issues onto 3 grieving kids and didn't care in the slightest what that did to us. I reminded him that my brother was only 4 years old when he lost mom, and my dad's response was to say that if I cared so much about them, then I should care even more about my younger half-siblings. But I told him that I didn't, and I have told him that a few times, ever since my first half-sibling was born. In truth, I never spend any time with my half-siblings or engage with them. It's just me, my brother, and my sister, and I put my time and love into them. My siblings have reached out to dad and asked for him to love them and spend time with them, but his focus is on the family that he wants, which is his favorite family as I think of them, and I definitely don't think of them as mine. Dad's wife and one of his favorite kids had birthdays a day apart. His gift for one was delayed or late or whatever, and he wasn't going to pick both of them up on time. So he asked me to do him a favor and pick one gift up while he picked up the other, and I just said no. But he told me that I could do a favor for him since he's my dad and all this other stuff. But again, I said no. The day came and went and I didn't get it, and he freaked out and told me that I was going to ruin the birthday. He told me again that I could have done a favor for him as we're all family, but I told him I don't owe him or his wife or his favorite kids any favors. I reminded him that he owed his kids being a good dad, and he wasn't to 3 of us, so I'm not going to save his butt or do something that makes his favorite family happy because, innocent or not, they are not my problem. Well, he said that I'm such a child, and then he got my uncle to say how disappointed he was that I acted so petty. So with all things considered, am I the jerk for not doing a favor for my dad? Because right now, I'm still very angry. No, I don't think you're the jerk in this situation, because it sounds like your dad has basically walked out on his original family. Him saying that his wife was like the biggest mistake he's ever made in his life is not only incredibly gross, but also a horrible thing to say, especially in front of your kids. Like, what is wrong with him? And then for him to basically get like a do-over family and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do things right this time, where he actually like shows up for these kids and like shows them love and attention that you should have gotten. Like, that is awful and so inappropriate. And I know if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't want to do any favors for my dad. He basically said he doesn't love me as much as his new family, and that is so insulting. Like, that's an awful thing to say. That would make me feel like garbage. Like, what is going on? So honestly, I think you would agree in saying that your dad is an absolute jerk for the way he's acting, because you and your siblings do not deserve this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my best friend's fiance propose at my wedding? Because right now, after I said no, they're acting like I ruined their special day, despite the fact that it was my wedding and I didn't want them doing that. Here's what happened. Okay, so I got married last month to the love of my life, and everything went off without a hitch except for one awkward moment. A week before the wedding, my best friend, who we will call Mary, asked if her fiance, who we will call Josh, could propose to her at my reception. Apparently, Josh thought it would be romantic and was convinced that it would make their moment more special. Now, I love Mary, but the idea of having my wedding overshadowed by their proposal just didn't sit right with me. I politely said no and suggested that they had their own special day. Mary seemed a little disappointed, but she said that she understood. Well, on the day of the wedding, I noticed that Mary and Josh were acting very distant, and it was clear that something was off. I later found out that Josh was upset with me for ruining his plan and felt like I'd been selfish for not allowing them to share in the love for the day. So seriously, am I the jerk for refusing to let them have their proposal at my wedding? Or was I being selfish by not letting them make it a double celebration? Because right now, I really don't know what to do. No, you are definitely not the jerk. Never in a million years is it okay to propose at someone else's wedding. That is not only rude and inconsiderate, but it's also completely taking away from the real reason we're all there. And that would be to like celebrate the marriage that's happening right now. Like, that is such a selfish thing to do, and it's so unbelievably toxic for them to be like, wow, you ruined our plan. And it's like, man, I'm really glad they asked ahead of time, because clearly they were gonna like do it no matter what? So no, you're definitely not the jerk, and I think it's awful that they even wanted to plan that in the first place. Am I the jerk for telling my sister that if she wants to give people second chances, then she should put her own neck on the line for once to see the consequences? Because right now, after being burned so many times by my sister's friends, I'm honestly sick of it, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, my sister, who we will call Zoe, is nice to a fault. She gives others second chances, but she is too trusting with people that she gives second chances to, and it winds up having consequences for whichever family member Zoe convinces to stick their neck out for. For example, my grandparents were talking about needing a cleaner, and Zoe asked them to hire a friend who we will call Ash. After several months, my grandparents learned that Ash had been pocketing my grandma's jewelry, and Zoe had recommended Ash's cleaning services for our grandparents' friends as well, and now we suspect that she's stolen from them too. Zoe made an excuse that Ash was a good person, but that she had a bad home life and only took the jewelry because she's trying to get away from her parents. Well, my grandparents were not amused and said that Ash was lucky because that was the only reason they didn't report her. Later, Zoe recommended a friend by the name of Lily as a babysitter for our brother's son, who we will call Max. Now, according to Max, Lily was on her phone the entire time, and Max was on his own for dinner. Max claims that Lily was actually mean to him, and my nephew isn't the type to make something up like that. Well, Zoe made another excuse that Lily's boyfriend broke up with her, and she is a good person, but she's just having a hard time. And obviously, my brother was still very pissed off at Zoe for even recommending this friend. Zoe kept trying to push me to talk to him and agree that she was right, but eventually I got fed up. I told Zoe that I get how she likes to give people second chances, but no one she recommends is ever trustworthy, and she should try putting her own neck on the line so she'll get why we're so annoyed with taking the consequences of her kindness and then her coming and trying to make us agree that she did a good thing. After that, our parents reached out to me. They said they understood me and my brother being frustrated and that they would talk to Zoe about being naive, but she was trying to do a good deed, and I should apologize to her because no matter the circumstance, it is a crummy thing to put down a person who had the best intentions. Now, one could argue that this is none of our parents' business, as we are all adults now, but our parents typically stay out of our business, and this is one of the only times our parents have gotten involved in any of our disagreements. So now, I'm torn between if I should apologize or if I should hold my ground. What should I do? No, I don't think you're at fault here, and in my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with you standing your ground. Your sister has bad judgment. Like, there's no other way to look at this, and it's honestly really insulting, especially when she's like pushing you to talk to your brother and be like, can you convince him that I'm right? Because clearly she's not. She had one friend steal from your grandparents and another friend mistreat the kid they were supposed to watch. Like, Zoe is literally batting zero at this point, and I don't blame you for getting upset. So no, I don't think you would be the jerk for standing your ground, because this seriously has got to stop. Am I the jerk for refusing to babysit my sister's kids after she said that my career isn't real work? Because right now I'm very upset and I don't know what to do. I'm a 26-year-old male, and I work from home as a freelance graphic designer. It's a very flexible job, and I can manage my own hours, but that doesn't mean that I'm not busy or hard at work. My 35-year-old sister has 3 kids, all under the age of 7, and is constantly asking me to babysit. At first, I didn't mind helping out occasionally, but lately it feels like she's taking advantage of me just because I'm at home. A few weeks ago, we were at a family dinner, and my sister made a comment about how I don't have a real job, and that I'm basically just playing around on my computer all day. I was pretty offended, but I didn't want to make a scene, so I just laughed it off. And then the next week, she asked me to watch her kids again because she had something coming up, but I told her that I couldn't do that because I had some deadlines that I needed to meet. Well, she just got upset and said to me, "You're home all day. What could be so important? It's not like you're doing real work." And that was honestly the last straw for me. I told her that if she didn't think my job was real, then she could find someone else to babysit and I wouldn't be helping her anymore. Well, now she's furious and says that I'm punishing her and the kids over a harmless comment. My mom has been telling me to just let it go because according to her, family helps each other out, but I'm honestly still pissed off. So am I the jerk for refusing to babysit after my sister's disrespectful comments? Because right now I really don't know what to do. No, you are not the jerk, and your sister is 100% at fault. For starters, being a freelance graphic designer and doing that as your main employment is not easy. That is insanely hard, and it takes a lot of hustling to get that going. So for your sister to be like, "Oh, you're not actually working. What could be so important in your life?" Like, that is so uncalled for and so disgusting. Not to mention the the fact that she then turned around and was like, oh, by the way, watch my kids. And it's like, no, what are you doing? You can't just make those kind of comments towards somebody and then expect them to bend over backwards to make sure your life is more comfortable. She's literally sitting there and being like, oh, you don't have a real job. You're not doing something that's productive. You're just on the computer playing around. And it's like, wait a second, what is a real job? If I'm making money and I'm providing for myself, then guess what? That's a real job. The guy has a flexible job with flexible hours, and he can literally decide when he does and doesn't want to work. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like a dream. Why would someone not want to have that? And I guarantee you that the original poster probably works harder than their sister or anybody else in the family because he doesn't have a guaranteed paycheck at the end of the day. He has to hustle every single day just to make ends meet. So no, I don't think you're the jerk at all. And I think anything your mom has to say about family helping each other out, in my opinion, is just such a dumb point. Because if your sister really was your family, then she wouldn't be making these harmful comments in the first place. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.